What can Jesus teach business owners about building a great team? Does the Bible really have practical advice for our business? One of the biggest frustrations as a business owner, if you've been one for very long, is people. It's been said if it wasn't for people, owning a business would be easy. And it's true, especially we have challenges every day, employees and clients and vendors too. But I think you're going to find the longer you're in business that employees are really one of your biggest day-to-day challenges. Not only finding them, but keeping them, and then also trusting them once you have them. So how do you build these relationships? How do you find the right people, find the right fit? That's a constant thing that I hear over and over again. It's hard to find good people. So is that true? And what do we need to do to find them? Well, Jesus built a team that actually changed the world. So you think there was he might have some things to say about how to do it correctly. I think so. So we can look to his example. Let's look at Luke 6, 12 and 13. We're going to talk about hiring for character. We're going to talk about the fertile soil that we want to find, and also being faithful in small things. So those are the three main topics we're going to go into about how to hire, keep, and build a great team. So Luke 6, 12 and 13 is my first verse here. Luke says, one of those days, Jesus went to a mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. When morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, who he designated apostles. This divine being, Jesus, used all night to pray for who to select for his apostles. So if he spent all this time pondering, praying, thinking about who would be the right fit to join his team, do you think we should put a little more thought into it than, oh, this person's available and I need help, so let me just get them? Yeah, let's follow his example and really put some deep thought, prayer, and a selection process in place of how you're going to pick these people. Because you're going to spend a lot of time with these people, either directly, or they're going to spend a lot of time in front of your customers. And so you better know who you're putting out there. It can be a little bit scary, a little intimidating. And if you've ever had bad experiences, which if you've been in business for very long, you will, and you know what I'm talking about. You know you want to try to prevent that as much as possible, but also not be too scared to go ahead and trust people. Now, who did Jesus look for? Did he look for the most educated, the most experienced, people that would be good teachers necessarily? Well, a lot of these people that he was choosing were fishermen, so they didn't necessarily have the qualifications to do what he was going to be asking them to do. But what they did have was great character. This is what he was looking for. This is what he was testing. Were they willing to follow him? Were these the kind of people that would represent him well? So what list of qualities are you looking for? Do you have a selection criteria when you choose an employee? Or are you just looking for a warm body? That's where you have to really be careful and maybe write out ahead of time, this is what we want. This is why having values, a written set of values for your company is so important, because now you can have criteria for what fits into what makes a good fit for your company. And now you're shaping culture. You're not just throwing people in. And that's how you build a real lasting business that's going to stand the test of time. Here's some qualities you might think about: integrity, humility, coachability, work ethic, responsibility. Now, these are things, hey, if this person's not meeting, these are my must-haves. If this person's not meeting those, they're automatically disqualified. You need to have a list of those, because then you won't be tempted when you're really busy and you need to make a hire to lower your standards just to get somebody in the door. So that's what I want to encourage you to do. And then another thing, you have to be living these standards. If you're going to ask that of someone else, they're going to be looking for certain things from you. So you want to be an example of what you're asking for. If you run I've seen this before too, somebody that ran a really loose ship, that the company was a mess and they were complaining they couldn't find good help. Well, who's going to be attracted to a place that's a mess? But people that are a mess. So clean up your own house first before you ask somebody else to clean up theirs. So again, Jesus looked for people with certain qualities. He prayed, he meditated about who he wanted to join. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Don't just get warm bodies, put a lot of thought into this process, and there's some criteria. Make some criteria there for them to have to follow. This is my list of wants, and this is my list of have-tos. And you're going to have a process, you're going to have an interview process, you're going to have certain things that you do to help narrow that down. And ask good questions when you're interviewing, things to find out these kind of character, because you're just not going to know somebody's character from looking at them. You're going to have to talk to them, and you're going to have to ask them questions, and you're going to have to try to discover what their heart is on certain things. So some of those questions you're going to ask are going to be to get to see how they really see the world and how they will treat your customers. So there's going to be a little homework involved in this. You're going to have to do some research on how to be a good interviewer. And it does take practice to be a good interviewer. Second, Jesus gave us a very good story about the fertile soil in Matthew 13. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the parable of the sower, Matthew 13, 1 through, it's like 17. So this farmer went about, he scattered his soil. It was good seed, and some of it was on rocky soil. Some of it was on, let me see the different kinds. Scattering seed fell upon the path, and some of the birds ate up. Some fell on rocky places where there wasn't much soil. It sprang quickly because the soil was shallow, but then the sun came up and the plants were scorched. Others fell among thorns, and then some fell upon good soil. So when it comes to employees, we're putting out this good seed, and we're putting the same effort in training. We're putting the same company that they can grow and thrive in to each one. But it can be frustrating because they will not all respond to what you're offering. And that's okay. That's natural. That's what Jesus says here, that just because you have good seed, the soil has to be right as well. And we can't control the soil. The soil is that person's heart. The soil is what that person is going through, who they are. So we're putting that seed, we're planting that seed, and we're giving them that opportunity, but it's up to them to respond to it. So it's the same seed, but different soil. Some see the opportunity we give them and run with it. Some of them are superstars. And then some see that same opportunity and they complain about it or they do nothing about it. And there's just nothing we can do about that. That's not up to us. We plant and water. The Bible says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God made it grow. So it's not up to us to do the growing. So we're looking for fertile soil. And then when we do find that fertile soil, those seeds that are sprouting, those seeds that are growing, those are the ones we cultivate. Those are the ones we spend time with. We don't look at the dead plants and say, rise, I need you to be resurrected and grow again. That's not up to us. We're not God. We can't make everything grow. But when we see something growing, we sure can make sure we're taking care of it, make sure that we're watering it, make sure it's getting enough sunlight. And that's what we do with these fertile employees, these good employees. We make sure we take care of them, we help them to grow, and then they can be such a long-term great asset to us and to our company. So another way that you can find who you can trust for these leadership responsibilities, who you can cultivate, who will make a good employee, is are they faithful in small things? And we have two scriptures to consider here. Luke 16:10. Luke 16:10 says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? So I've heard of people that said, well, yeah, this person stole from me, but they're really good at their job, so I want to give them another chance. Now, I don't subscribe to that way of thinking. I think if how you do anything is how you do everything, and that's what the scripture is saying. The way that you do handle these small things is also the way you're going to handle big things. If you steal in small areas, you're going to steal in big areas. If I can't trust you with a little bit of my property, like it said, I can't trust you with a big part of my property. So are they taking ownership? Are they showing themselves responsible when you give them small tasks? And then you can progressively build up to larger ones. Because if they are, then hey, that person can be trusted. They're doing these little things well. You can trust them, so let's give them a little bit more and see. And then we have the example in Matthew 25:14. 25:14 is the parable of the talents. And you might remember this story. It's an interesting story because he gives the one slave 5 talents. That slave gains 5 more. He gives one 2 talents, and that one gains 2 more. And then he gives one talent, and that one just buries it and brings that same talent back. So what does that tell us? It tells us is that person, when you entrust them with these things, are they making use of their talent? Or are they hiding it away, doing just enough because they're hoping they don't get fired? Now, that is not an employee that you want to entrust a lot into, obviously, because they're not making the most of their opportunities. But this person with the 5 and the 2 talents, that you're giving them something and they're making something even better with it. That is a big hint in what you look for in a key employee. I knew some employees I would send out to do a job, and they would make that job so much bigger and so much better in a good way. They would double the ticket, and the customer would be so happy. They'd be calling in saying, this person did a wonderful job. They suggested all these other services. They went ahead and did them while they were there. And I made a lot of money. The technician made a lot of money. The customer was super excited. And this is a person with a lot of talents that was making a lot more out of their talents. And that person would go on to be trusted with more. Whenever I had a good opportunity come along, who do you think was the first person I wanted to send on a profitable job and would have the opportunity to make more money? That person, or then I would have the other person that I would go in and say, hey, I've pre-sold this much. All you have to do is go in the job and do this job. Because I knew that person was probably not going to add more. And sometimes these people would come back and the ticket would be less than I already pre-sold. And I would say, what did you do? How did you get a ticket less than I've already pre-sold it for? And these are these persons that just want to bury their talents and try to escape by unnoticed. And these are not people you want to continue to give more responsibility to. These are people that are on the borderline of, are they a great fit for our company? Or are they just a warm body filling a seat? So again, are these people following through? Are they taking ownership? Are they solving problems? Are they contributing to the company? Or are they just burying their talent? So this is another factor we want to look for when it comes to finding and developing wonderful, amazing team members. So in conclusion, we're hiring for character. We're consistently planting seeds. And then when that seed is fertile, is growing, we want to cultivate it and cherish it and take that employee that's doing well and keep building them. And then look for people that are faithful in small things. If they're faithful in the little things, if they're good with their one talent, then we give them more talents. If they bury that talent, if they've shown themselves unfaithful in small things, why would you want to give them more? So I want to know, what's the biggest challenge when it comes to your team? Is it the finding the people? Is it the developing them? Is it trusting them and letting go? Are you frustrated with your team members? Let me know in the comments. And also, I'm going to put a link. I'm doing a special devotional for Christian small business owners. And if that's you and you want to go through this, it's to help expand your view of you, God, and money. Because a lot of Christian business owners have the view that they have still some things trapped in their mind about money. They're a little bit conflicted. Should I make a lot of money, or is that against God? Is he going to be displeased with that? So that's what this devotional goes into. I'm going to link it in the comment section. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you can build a great team of motivated, inspired individuals, and will help you reach your goals, help them reach their goals, and create a successful legacy to come.